In 1940, a 51-year-old British comedian stood in front of a camera and gave one of the most powerful political speeches of the 20th century. His name was Charlie Chaplin. He had spent his entire career making people laugh in silent films. And right at the moment when the world was tipping into the bloodiest war in human history, he chose to open his mouth and speak for the first time on screen. What came out was a fantastic speech, and it's also great for learning English. So today we are going to listen to that speech together. I will play part of the speech, then I'll pause, and I will explain the most interesting words, phrases, and uses of language as we go, so that by the end you'll understand exactly what Charlie Chaplin said, how he said it, and why the speech is so important. If you are an intermediate to advanced learner of English, this is exactly the kind of listening practice that will help sharpen your ear and improve your vocabulary at the same time. Now, before I play the speech, I need to give you a little bit of context. This clip comes from a film called The Great Dictator, which was released in October 1940. Charlie Chaplin wrote it, directed it, produced it, financed it, and starred in it. At the time, he was the most famous silent film actor in the world. But in this film, he chose to break his silence because he believed there was something important that he needed to say. Now, the film, The Great Dictator, is a political satire. It mocks Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, and the rise of fascism in Europe. Remember the date, this is October of 1940. The Second World War has begun, but importantly, the United States has not yet joined the war. And many Americans were still arguing that fascism was a European problem and nothing to do with them. So Charlie Chaplin made this film to try to wake Americans up to the rise of fascism. As to the film itself, Charlie Chaplin plays two characters who happen to look identical. They look the same. One is a gentle, ordinary Jewish barber. The other is a fictional dictator called Adenoid Hinkle, which is an obvious parody of Adolf Hitler. There is a series of mix-ups, and the barber is mistaken for the dictator and pushed onto a platform in front of huge crowds and military regiments and expected to give a speech. He does give a speech, but it isn't the one that anyone is expecting. What you are about to see is the Jewish barber pretending to be the dictator, giving a speech that the dictator would never give. It's a speech about humanity, liberty, kindness, and democracy. And I hope you will agree that a lot of what he says in this speech from more than 80 years ago is still equally applicable today. And one more administrative point, there is also a PDF study pack that I made to go along with this video. This has the full transcript, it has a vocabulary list with definitions and explanations, as well as a comprehension quiz, and essentially everything you need to get the most out of this video. It's completely free, and if you just spend 20 minutes with it, you'll remember the language a lot better than if you just watch passively. Okay, apologies for the long introduction, but that is background that you do need to know. I'm going to press play now, and let's watch the speech together.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business.
Okay, first expression, that's not my business. He means that ruling and conquering, being an emperor, is not something that he is interested in, not something that he wants to be part of. You might know the expression, that's none of your business, which is much more common in everyday English and means has got nothing to do with you. I don't want to tell you, it doesn't matter to you. Here, he's using the same structure, but turns it around, just saying, that's not my business. I'm not interested in that thing.
I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white.
Okay, couple of points here. I should like to help everyone. Now, should like was once used interchangeably with would like in formal British English, like I should like a cup of tea instead of I would like a cup of tea. And you might still come across this in older novels or political speeches, and sometimes even in very polite, formal English speech. But it's much more common nowadays just to hear would like. And then a bit of vocabulary that you might not know. He says Jew, Gentile, black man, white. A Gentile means a non-Jewish person. Okay, let's keep going.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery.
Okay, live by. Here is an interesting phrasal verb. If you live by something, you follow it as a sort of moral code, a principle for how you live your life. Another way of thinking about it is live according to something. There is a famous English expression that you might know, live by the sword, die by the sword, which means that someone who is violent is likely to meet a violent end, a violent death themselves. In terms of other things you can live by your word, live by your principles, live by a code. And here he's saying we want to live by each other's happiness, saying we want our lives to be built around other people's happiness, not by each other's misery. Okay, let's keep going.
We don't want to hate and despise one another.
Okay, here's another interesting linguistic point. We don't want to hate and despise one another. You might know both of those words and think, hang on, they mean the same thing. Hate and despise both mean to have a very strong dislike towards something. The difference is that despise is stronger and often more moral. So you might say, I hate mushrooms, meaning you really don't like the taste of mushrooms, but it would be strange to say you despise mushrooms, because that sounds just dramatic. Mushrooms haven't done anything wrong to you, apart from being disgusting. Despise is usually reserved for things that you really kind of hate on a deeper level, because something is so deeply offensive to you. That can be an action, a person, a philosophy, or a kind of behavior. There really needs to be some kind of quality to that thing that you despise that is not kind of intrinsic. Something has to have done something to you, or it has to be so offensive for you to despise it. Okay, let's keep going.
In this world there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way.
Okay, here is a nice expression, lost the way. If you lose your way in a literal sense, you're physically lost, you don't know where to go. You might be on the way to the library and you've lost your way in a day before Google Maps. But you can also lose your way spiritually and morally. You've drifted away from the principles that you said you would live by, and you are lost. And here, what he is saying is that societies and cultures and countries have drifted away from what they should stand for, the codes that they should live by.
Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed.
Okay, a couple of nice things here. Greed has poisoned men's souls, has barricaded the world with hate. A barricade is a strong, often makeshift, temporary wall built quickly to try to keep something out or protect something. So you'll find barricades in revolutions, protests, and kind of war zones. And he says, has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. The goose step is the famous Nazi military march where the soldiers lift their legs very high up and very straight. So Chaplin is kind of invoking that image directly, saying that greed has goose-stepped us into misery and bloodshed. Right, let's keep on going.
We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want.
Okay, two interesting expressions here. Abundance, if there is an abundance of something, it means there is a great deal of it, more than you need, more than enough for everyone. So you can say, there is an abundance of apples in my orchard. And then we have has left us in want. If you are in want of something, it's the opposite of abundance. So you need something. You don't have enough of something that you need. It's slightly old-fashioned now, but you will still find it in texts and sometimes in conversation, normally with what it is in want of specified. So, for example, you might say, the garden is in want of a little attention. That wall is in want of a lick of paint. So, to translate what he said, machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. What he's saying is that all of these machines that give us so many things have actually left us without the things that we need. Okay, let's keep on going.
Our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost.
Okay, to repeat what he just said, our knowledge has made us cynical, our cleverness hard and unkind. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. What I want to draw your attention to there is just how well written, how well structured that passage is. He uses very simple words, short sentences, but there is this perfect rhythm there. Think too much, feel too little. More than machinery, humanity. More than cleverness, kindness. You have these clean oppositions, and it's perfectly balanced. So it's just an example of how sometimes you don't need complicated words and structures. Plain English, simple English, can be incredibly powerful. Okay, let's keep going.
The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these inventions cries out for the goodness in men, cries out for universal brotherhood, for the unity of us all.
Okay, two things to talk about here. The very nature of these inventions. Now, you probably know very as a word that intensifies an adjective. I'm very tired. She's very good at maths. But when you put very in front of a noun like this, saying the very nature, it means something slightly different. It means the essential, the innate quality of the thing thing at its core. So the very nature of these inventions means what these inventions truly are, what they were made for. And then cries out for, if something cries out for something else, of course, it doesn't mean that it is literally shouting or crying. What it means is that it strongly demands or strongly needs a certain thing. Okay, let's keep going.
Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and little children. Victims of a system that makes men torture and imprison innocent people. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed.
Okay, this is a pretty powerful passage. So the word despair appears twice here, millions of despairing men. And then later on, he says, to those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. Now, let me just clarify what despair means. It means really to lose all hope. It's far stronger than feeling a little bit sad or feeling worried about something. It implies you are giving up entirely. You've lost all hope. And he has the contrast here of first appealing to the millions of despairing men, women, and little children, and then saying, do not despair. And then the other thing to mention is the last sentence. He says, the misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed. But here means only. It's a slightly old-fashioned, archaic way of saying it, but you'll still come across it in writing and older text and sometimes in speech. Saying, he is but a child means he is only a child. And here, the misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed means is only the passing of greed. Let's keep going.
The bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass and dictators die. And the power they took from the people will return to the people. And so long as men die, liberty will never perish.
Okay, let's talk about the last word here. Liberty will never perish. Now, perish is a word that you might know already. It means die, but it has a stronger and more final quality to it. There's something more absolute, almost, with perishing rather than dying. Dying is the generic term for no longer living, but perishing is, if it's possible, more finite, more absolute. It's often used for someone perishing at sea, especially if their body was never found. You wouldn't typically use it for someone who died peacefully at home, for example. Normally it's poetic, it's grand, and that's why he's using it here. He's saying, as long as men die, liberty will never perish, meaning disappear forever to never return. Okay, let's keep going.
Soldiers, don't give yourselves to brutes.
Okay, quick point. A brute is a cruel and violent person. It's almost always a man. I guess you could technically apply this term to a woman, but in practice, it's used about men. And Chaplin here is speaking directly to soldiers, and here he is talking about the violent men who are commanding them.
Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon
Okay,
fodder.
there is a lot packed into this line. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, and what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. So, first thing to talk about, regiment your lives. You might know that a regiment is a noun, which is a unit of soldiers, but it can also be used as a verb, which is how it's being used here. And to regiment something is to organize it strictly and rigidly with no room for individual freedom. And similarly, he says, drill you, diet you. These are two more nouns, really, that are being used as verbs. If you drill someone in English, it doesn't mean to get out your drill and put a screw in them or anything. It means to train them through repetitive exercises, like a sergeant might do to a group of soldiers. And here, to diet you is to control what someone eats. Treat you like cattle. Cattle is another word for cows or livestock in general. So to treat you like cattle is to treat you no better than if you were cows on a farm. And then cannon fodder. This is a fixed expression. Fodder is what cows and other farm animals eat. But cannon fodder means low-ranking soldiers who are sent into battle with no real strategy, simply to absorb the enemy's bullets, to get shot at and killed. So what he's saying overall in this sentence is that these violent men who are commanding the soldiers, they hate them, they treat them like animals, and then they send them off to their deaths.
Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines, you are not cattle, you are men. You have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate, only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural.
Okay, here a quick grammar point. He says, you don't hate, Only the unloved hate, the unloved and the unnatural. In English, you can use the plus an adjective to refer to a whole group of people who share that quality. So the unloved, the unnatural, the rich, the poor, the elderly, the homeless, the unemployed. You can use it with almost any adjective. Okay, let's keep going.
Soldiers, don't fight for slavery, fight for liberty. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in all men, in you. You, the people, have the power to create machines, the power to create happiness. You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure. Then in the name of democracy, let us use that power. Let us all unite. Let us fight for a new world.
Okay, quick note on let us. So let us use that power, let us all unite, let us fight for a new world. Let us is usually shortened to let's. So let's go to the cinema. And the full version saying let us is normally more old-fashioned, more formal, and it typically carries a more serious, sometimes even religious or political quality to it. So, for example, in the Bible, you might hear let us pray rather than let's pray. And you'll hear it in lots of political speeches too. And here he is using the full version because it is a formal speech. This is a deliberate call to action. It's not just a regular conversation between friends. Okay, almost at the end.
A decent world that will give men a chance to work, that will give youth a future and old age a security. By the promise of these things, brutes have risen to power, but they lie. They do not fulfill that promise. They never will. Dictators free themselves, but they enslave the people. Now let us fight to fulfill that promise. Let us fight to free the world, to do away with national barriers, to do away with greed, with hate and intolerance.
Okay, quick point here. To do away with, this is a nice little phrasal verb. If you do away with something, you get rid of it. But it's typically used for kind of structural or systemic things. You wouldn't say, I finished my apple and then I did away with the core. You just would say, I threw away the core of my apple. Do away with is typically used for things like laws, customs, institutions, things that have been around for a while that you are getting rid of. And of course, here he's saying do away with national barriers, greed, hate, and intolerance. These are all big things that he is suggesting should be done away with. Okay, last bit.
Let us fight for a world of reason, a world where science and progress will lead to all men's happiness. Soldiers, in the name of democracy, let us all unite!
Okay, there you go. That is Charlie Chaplin's speech from The Great Dictator. If you'd like to learn more about Charlie Chaplin's life, we've actually made a podcast episode on it. It's episode number 598 of English Learning for Curious Minds. I'll put a link to that in the description below this video. And this video, this listen and learn video of Charlie Chaplin's speech, actually came from one of the challenges that we run for members, the Great Speeches Challenge, which is quite a fun one where we learn English through some of the most powerful speeches ever delivered. I'll put a link to the membership down below the video if you want to check out that too. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.